people that came out and turned the thing up so that the temperature went up and it was warm and comfortable. No, they had to cut their own wood. So they cut the wood, and they would have in the middle of that, and you see that one room, that house over here? Have I seen the house so far? The red? Okay. That would have been all those 8 or 9 grades. It would all be in one building. Okay. And when you went to school, they didn't have a cafeteria. This was your cafeteria. It was called a lunchbox. This time, what happened is, your mother, your grandmother, your aunt, your uncle, and what you would do is, you open, this was called a lunch pail. And it looks like a pail the same way that your mother or your grandmother or your aunt, they'd fill that up as much as they could with either, oh my heavens, whatever they had for dinner last night. So it might have been beans, or maybe it was cornbread, or maybe it was, gosh, you didn't get very many steaks, and you sure didn't get any pizza, because they didn't have pizza back in 1951. Yes.
I need a tissue. A tissue.
We need another tissue. That's one of the greatest things in the world. Because when you get a pail like this, what they did, they would put in there, and when we went to school in the morning, on a cold morning like it was a couple days ago, and it was real cold, well, the man who put the fire in there, they had what was called a pot-bellied stove. It was a stove about this big around, had a chimney up to the top of it. And so when you went in the morning, what you would do is, if you had to walk to school, that'd be really bad. But in the meantime, this was your lunch. It was a lunch pail, and you would put that on top of that area, in the middle of the farm, middle of the building. That's where your hot lunch came from.
Yes.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have anything to eat.
Oh, yeah. Would you like to take that to school to eat out of?
We got a couple people in here that remember those days very well. So we won't talk about that anymore. If we take a look at these, how many of you have skateboards? Anybody have a skateboard?
You have a skateboard?
You know what this is? Do you? Well, this is the skateboards that they used to have. And you would put those around, and hopefully you can get it tight enough so it didn't fall over. But then the problem was, the sidewalks, if you were in town, were not very smooth. There'd be one block this high and one block that high, and you'd fall down. So that's, you see, you're in a little better position now for going skating than you were back then. So you can be thankful that you got that.
Hey, do you think we can do that again?
I've got a, if you lived in the country or even in town,
You know what that is?
this is country. Well, what do you do with this pot?
You cook something.
What would you cook in there?
Beans.
Beans? Okay. Potatoes? Okay.
Soup. Soup.
Really? This is called a chamber pot. Now, let me explain. If you look back at the back of my lot back there, you'll see a red building. And then over here, there's a red one over here, and it's a one-room schoolhouse. Which, remember, all those 8 years, all those kids all went to the same school. Well, in the morning before you went to school, this was, there's a name for this. Guess what it is? It's called a chamber pot. We had other names for it. So that, you got it, babe. So what happened was this. In a cold night, think about it. It's been real cold outside, about 8 inches of snow on the ground, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Where are you going to go? You haven't got a restroom like you do now, bathroom, so you'd use this, okay? And so mom used it, dad moved it, your sister used it, your brother used it, your aunt used it, and by the next morning it might be pretty full, but it was better than going back there at 2 o'clock in the morning. So guess what your job was if you were the youngest and could lift it? Your job was to take that back to the outhouse and dump it. Because some people think they cooked in there. Well, guess what? You didn't cook in there. See, yours wouldn't have been too good. That's what this pot was. It's a chamber pot. And we had other names for them. But that's basically what I'm going to use today.
Like Thunder Mug?
Thunder Mug. Thunder Mug is the
Sears catalog.
That's what I was getting to, because you see, they didn't have toilet paper like that here. What they had
I
was,
wouldn't know, I'm not as old as you guys.
every year, you used to get a nice catalog. It would be about this thick. The catalog would be with all kinds of things you could buy. And guess what? That was a nice book, except they used it pages one at a time, because they didn't have the same kind of
Toilet paper.
And so they used the things coming off there, and it would be okay, except some of those pages were slick. They were not very good at all. So there was a double use for this. Now,
I remember what they're doing.
so going to school,
They're playing checkers.
where it's getting cold outside and you have to go take your restroom outside with you, it gets to be kind of hard to do that. In your homework, a lot of times parents don't have time to help us with their homework, so that going to the first grade and the second grade was helping you in the third and fourth. You learned a lot because you got the same lesson for 9 years. But the time the first graders started, they already heard all about the math, and a lot of those kids went to some very, very good schools. And even though they didn't have all the fancy stuff they got today, a lot of them wound up in college and did pretty well. Now, last thing on this one, and I use this one because I see too much of this in the paper, I hear too much about it, and that's, anybody know what this is?
A guy?
Yeah, what kind do you think it is? Any idea?
No.
Let me tell you very easily. It's a single,
She said it's
Two bears.
no, it's a single barrel.
And we dated.
It's a 22. It's a pistol.
Take care of American.
And you have one shell at a time that goes in here, and you never, and I get very concerned because too many people have weapons that shouldn't have weapons at all.
Good thing he changed.
Certainly shouldn't be carrying that thing around with them. This is a 22. It was my grandfather's and my father's, and it was mine, and I killed my first rabbit with his gun. I don't hunt anymore, but it's
When was it made, Dave?
This was about in 1890.
Yes, thank
It's been around for a long time.
Oh.
But it's still a pretty good weapon, and it's still very, I have a carry license, but we go out and use it.
Can you still buy the
He
same
belongs to the
model?
neighbor.
No. And it's not-
He
so
lives
it's
here
better
most
what's
of the
worth
time.
it. Worth a lot to me, so I work.
Couldn't get that.
My concern today is the people
Young lady
not
up there, is that
carrying
your
weapons
daughter?
at all, let alone.
Whoever let us in. No, that's Marcia. That's Bob Rice's
We
wife.
gotta find a way to get the we gotta get them off the streets, but at the same time, we don't wanna take away the right to own a weapon. So I don't know where that balance is, and if we can get more people to understand, it's not guns don't kill, it's the people that carries the guns. That's what we gotta stop. So please, 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 if you see somebody doing something stupid, you can tell your mom or your dad and say, we got a problem, Mom, Dad, we gotta get this. There's too many people getting killed. That's it. Anybody else got any questions on weapons? If not, just know that it needs to be a dangerous, dangerous thing. And I show it to you not to scare you, but to let you know that there's nothing wrong with it. And it can be a real pleasure if you know how to use the thing. But you don't use it where there are people around, and it has to be under very, very strict attention. So if you see somebody doing something stupid, go tell your mom or your dad and say, somebody's got a weapon and we want to stop that. It's the only way we're going to stop the killings that are going on out there. So, we're very happy to have you here today, and we want you to go through the, if you're going through it with that, there are a lot of things to get, and if you need some help on it, this is not something to stump you. It's designed to let you find out something. That little outhouse, there's an outhouse on there, a lot of them. The one-room schoolhouse is up there. And so, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I need help on number 4.
What's for?
It's one of the buildings has people inside it. How many people are there?
Is that the one?
It was 3, and then I can't figure out what they are doing, and I can't see.
You have to look. I'll give you a hint, okay? Everybody likes a hint. There's one, and it's on this building, he's building right in here. And if you look inside the window, and you got to get down and look, you'll see some people inside of one of these. And I want to know how many people are there and what they're doing. That's one of the questions. Yes.
And you know what's going on.
Yeah.
She speaks the French.
Some of your things on the video. I've looked in buildings before. What's going on?
Yep.
Let's go now. We got some.
That's it. We appreciate you coming. We hope you have a good time.
you
go
start all
chocolate
around
cookies
and see how many
yes.
years. Start